All right, so this is body cavity, and body cavity simply means cavity, just the same way you say like tooth, there are cavities in the tooth, right? So there are holes inside the body that host organs. All right. Now, so organs inside the body cavity, we call them um visceral organs. So I'm going to write that here. We call them visceral organs. Organs inside cavity, we call them visceral. So you just say viscerals. Viscerals. They are organs inside cavity. So your brain is a visceral organ. Heart is a visceral organ. Lungs are visceral organs because they are inside cavities, right? Now there are spaces within body that helps to protect. They protect organs. They also support the internal organs. So there are two different categories based on major section. We say we have the anterior cavity and we have the posterior cavity, or ventral cavity and dorsal cavity. So here on this page, you have the ventral cavity here, or the anterior cavity. The ventral cavity, the largest one there is a thoracic cavity, and also you have the abdominal pelvic cavity, or abdominal and pelvic cavity. Then when you blend it together, it becomes abdominal pelvic cavity. All right, so the thoracic cavity is divided into three. We have the right pleural cavity, which is where what hosts the lungs, the right lungs. Then you have when you see pleura, it's lungs. When you have the mediastinum, which is what hosts the pericardial cavity, which holds the heart. Then you have the left pleural cavity. So there are three cavities inside the thoracic cavity, and you have to understand that. Now, the other one right below the thoracic cavity, you have the abdominal cavity, and then you have the pelvic cavity. The pelvic abdominal cavity consists of digestive organs, glands there, and organs. Then you have the pelvic cavity, which has the urinary bladder, the reproductive organs, and some portion of the digestive tract is also there. Now, these are just a way to reinforce what we just looked at. The anterior cavity, we just looked at those leads that we're still going to check. So you have the posterior dorsal cavity. It's because it's located on the posterior side, right? Then the anterior is located on the ventral or anterior side, the front. The posterior cavity, you have the brain there, which is the cranium, and then you have the vertebral canal, which is the vertebral bone where the spinal cord is. So the spinal cord and the brain is actually at the back. They are part of the posterior cavity. Then the anterior, like I told you, you see them on the front surface. They have thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, the pleura, and the mediastinum, which is what you see as is a mass of structure located between the pleural cavity, between the two lungs cavity. Abdominal pelvic is the upper portion, which is the upper portion is the abdomen, which is where you see the abdominal organ, the digestive organs and gland. Then the pelvic cavity is lower portion. You can see that in the image there. All right, those are the quadrants. Just look at the quadrants. Now let me talk about the membranes, which is the last thing I will talk about. Now the membranes, they are predominantly two types of membrane. Now, if you think about it, there is so we have the parietal membrane and then the visceral membrane. The parietal membrane is the one outside and the visceral is the one inside. Now think about it. We say there are organs inside the cavity and the organs are called visceral organ. The visceral organ has a lining membrane that covers it. That lining is the visceral membrane. Then the bone also have a lining that line the inside of the bone, and that is what we call the parietal membrane. So the closest membrane to the organ is the visceral membrane. The one that is away from the organ is the parietal membrane. So if you look at this now, that shows you the membranes and their cavity. But look at this image, which will give you a good clarity. Now here now is the heart, which is inside the pericardial cavity. All right. So that's the heart there inside pericardial cavity. And you see immediate layer that covers the heart is called viscera pericardium because it's the viscera of the pericardial cavity. And then the layer that is away from the heart, we call it parietal pericardium. All right. So generally, these membranes are called serous membrane. All right. And the one that is closer to the visceral organ is called visceral membrane or visceral serous membrane. And the one that is away is called parietal membrane or parietal serous membrane. Now, we can now link it to the name of that cavity itself. So the one that is in the pericardium, we call it visceral pericardium, just to be descriptive. And the one that is in the pleura, we're going to call it visceral pleura. All right. The one that is here, we're going to call it visceral peritoneum. All right. And that's the way they are named in that order. All right. All right. So I'm going to see you in chapter 2. Thank you. Have a good one. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Send me an email. There are things you want me to look at, put it on the chat, send me an email, put it on comments. I'm going to look at them. Then I will talk about anything you want me to talk about. Please subscribe. Thank you.